Slick continues, the Holy Spirit is also divine in nature and self-aware, the third person of the Trinity. The Holy Spirit is a person. The Holy Spirit can be grieved. The Holy Spirit can be lied to. The Holy Spirit has a will. The Holy Spirit can send people here and there. The Holy Spirit can demonstrate the words of Messiah. Therefore, he has a choice in the matter. The Holy Spirit is not just some impersonal force, like Star Wars, right? The apostles and the early Christians, and indeed all Christians, said we don't just channel the Holy Spirit like we would channel the Force, or, may the Force be with you. May the Holy Spirit be with you. It doesn't work that way. Read through the Bible, and yes, there's some overlap between the Spirit of God and the Holy Spirit, and the verses that talk about the Spirit of God, and when we're understanding that it is the Spirit that God is, versus the Holy Spirit who is being sent from the Spirit that is God. There is this challenge for us to rethink that. And so we're going to look at that later on in my third part to this series, Who or What is the Holy Spirit? But we don't have to get into it now. Slick continues, there is, though, an apparent separation of some functions among the members of the Godhead. And this, of course, challenges us to be able to examine what we might call the economic Trinity, or the not the economic Trinity, but the other version. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we're talking about the concept that the Trinity enjoys, the persons of the Godhead enjoy their own roles and functions here and among mankind, and they accomplish their wills and purpose and their tasks here on earth and in heaven. And for that to take place, they have to have this, as I mentioned, this perfect harmony, co-equal, co-eternal, co-powerful, and yet working together, and yet at the same time, sometimes working separately. For example, the Father chooses who will be saved in Ephesians 1:4, right? It's not the Son who does that. The Son redeems them, right, in Ephesians 1:7, and then the Holy Spirit seals them in Ephesians 1:13. Notice in just a very short passage of the Bible, and I'm closing with this, Matt Slick reminds us of it's the Father's role to choose who is saved, it's the Son's role to redeem those who are saved, and it's the Holy Spirit's role to seal those who are saved. And those roles, while sometimes there's some overlapping, slightly some verbiage that indicates some overlap, but for the most part, these are some this is just a snapshot of what we're going to be looking at later on as we go through the chart of verses. For the most part, as we're examining Trinitarian passages and verses, and we're looking through them and we're mining them for the truths that are contained, it's helpful for us to try and remember, how is the Bible portraying the choices and the roles and the functions and the characteristics of the person who's in view? It's describing God, His fatherhood, and the roles that He's playing, and the miracles that He's working, the things that He's doing. And then suddenly the Scriptures are describing Jesus and the things that He's doing, and the will that He's exerting, and the miracles He's performing, and things like that. And then we have passages that talks about the events and the actions of the Holy Spirit. And as we tie them all together into the grand will of God and the scope of this identity of God, then we can begin to step back as we zoom in and zoom out at all these pieces on the table, all the while reminding ourselves and keeping this view in mind that it's one God. You have to keep that in view. That has to be your anchor, or the whole Bible goes wonky, right? It falls apart. There's one God, but at the same time, we're challenged with this idea of these other persons that are doing things that either only God can do, or have previously been attributed to God, which links them to full deity, okay? And with that, we'll close. Amen? Amen.